we'll see how
Hell
this
yeah.
goes.
Good morning.
Maddie!
What were you saying about medication?
It's dark outside.
It is
There,
dark
not
outside here. Yeah. Can I just hold my mic like this? Is anyone gonna care if I
Yeah,
do
that's
that?
kind of fun.
Okay. Does it sound?
It sounds really Mikey, not in a bad way. In like a, I don't know how to say it sounds Mikey in a different way.
Does that mean it's
You know
loud?
what I mean?
Is it too loud?
No, not loud in a bad way.
Okay. I'm gonna
It just
hold it
sounds
down
like
here.
a microphone, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It's
All right.
easy to fix in editing. I think it sounds fine though.
Okay. Cool. I don't know how to fix that in editing, so you can do that for me. I'm really just a genius when it comes to software and hardware, even
Both of
technology.
the wares. What about like medium
Over
wear?
medium wear? Yeah, I'm good at
Yeah.
that as well. Yeah.
What about
Sunny side up wear?
scrambled wear?
Pretty good at that.
Omelet wear.
Poached wear. Yeah, really good.
Deviled wear.
This is the stupidest bit we've ever
How
done.
did this turn into eggs?
I don't know. It's kind of like it's reminding me, I don't know why. God, this light is like quite bright now. I just didn't want to look like a washed out Victorian ghost, and now can I put
Why not?
Because if I see, that's much worse. Being dark here is not helping me.
Wait.
No, I don't.
You look like her with the pink light on.
That's really fucking rude, actually.
You don't look like, okay, it's false lighting. It's not like you actually look like that, but your skin tone matches. Maybe that's what he was picturing.
Maybe.
Was your skin tone
Just
in that?
me in the light of my Mac preloaded Mac wallpaper on my laptop. Anyways, how was camping? Since I was
good.
not given an answer when I asked you when we weren't recording, which is fine.
Well, is the point of camping, what is the point if not to talk about it on a public platform? You know? Did I really
100%.
It was good. There was a slight hammock mishap.
Did you use a hammock?
Well, we brought our hammocks to hang out in. We got there like Friday night, so we can have all Saturday. And so Saturday we got up and we went for a hike. And then we got back, had lunch, and we were gonna just hammock for a while. I brought my binocs and my bird guide book.
Okay, I'm understanding that means binoculars.
Yeah. I brought my binoculars. And I was gonna do some birding, you know? But first, Aiden and I were just yapping for a while in our hammocks, and so I was facing him, and I had my beer in my lap. And then I was like, all right, bird time. And so I like swung around to face the other way. And then all of a sudden I was really cold. And I said, oh, fuck, my beer. And so I pick it up and I'm like so proud of myself that I got it, but I picked it up upside down. So it's just like dumping out on top of me now. And I'm in a moment of panic. So I'm just like swinging it and making it so much worse. And then I throw the can on the ground. Aiden looks over and he's like, Toby's now licking the ground.
Toby's
where
really
all of my beer spillages.
Toby's trying his absolute best to have
and
a
so
drink
I just
for
kind of
once.
sit there. I sat there stunned for a minute. Just wasn't sure what my next move should be. I knew
what your next processing your next emotion.
I was like,
and the male partner is always like, it's like a nature documentary. He's like, okay, is it going to be tears? Is it going to be blind white hot rage? What is it going to be?
I was just like, I know that no matter what, I need to get out of this hammock, and no matter what, it's not going to feel pleasant.
No. It's going to dump a lot of liquid probably as well.
So I like Aiden kind of pep talks me a bit, and then I finally get out of the hammock and I'm just like soaked, and I like lift it and kind of start airing it out, and then I'm all wet. And I remember that we had bought dude wipes for a camping trip like 2 years ago.
Wipes.
Yeah, because we were just gonna get wet wipes, and then we saw dude wipes, and we had to commit to the bit for the weekend. And they've been sitting in Aiden's car for 2 years.
Don't they have
And so they were dried
menthol
out,
in them?
but they were in the
Oh.
I don't know. They
Never
were dried
mind.
out, so we just
Ignore
poured
that.
water on them. Don't tell me what I might have cleaned myself off with. So
Yeah, your
he
pH is probably fine.
rehydrated them.
You'll be okay.
Well, I just like went over to the car. I wasn't gonna get in the tent and get my beer soaked outfit all over my sleeping bag. So
obviously.
I literally just walked over to the car. I grabbed clothes, a change of clothes, walked over to the car, and just like stripped in front of God and everybody.
My bare ass cheeks were out in front of God and everybody.
And Aiden brings over the rehydrated dude wipes. And I like clean myself off and get it into clean clothes. And then I was like, well, now what? I couldn't get back in my hammock, and so I kind of just sat in my camp chair, and we started the campfire a little early so I could make a s'more and feel better.
That's good.
It was funny. It was fine once I was just... I was laughing the whole time, but I was so cold.
Yeah. Mine...
But then once I had dry clothes on, it was fine.
Yeah, dry clothes probably made things a lot better.
Shout out to Dude Wipes. Sponsor this podcast.
Shout out to Dude Wipes. Sponsor this all-female podcast, even though you are clearly keen to market to not women for some reason.
You're missing a niche market, which is women.
Yeah, it's really niche.
Anywho, after that, it was great.
Good.
We had red beans and rice for dinner that we made in the Dutch oven.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we got a Dutch oven as a wedding gift. We didn't roast weenies, which is out of character for me.
That is out of character for you.
But we needed to use the Dutch oven.
Yeah. Fair. That's fun.
Anyway, it was great. Toby liked it. We went on a hike, and it ended up being like a mile longer than All Trails said it was, which is really rude.
I don't trust All Trails. For obvious reasons.
Yeah. So, that was fun. Toby was dead by the end of that, but he was a trooper, and there were so many mushrooms on it.
He is so long and barrel-chested. That is not for him.
By the end of it, he was really mad that I was leading the way, but like he would get in front of me and just go so slow that I was like tripping over him, trying not to step on his heels. And so I would jump in front, and then all of a sudden he would get so much energy and want to go so fast and be pulling Aiden. So we made it though.
Good job.
And nothing tastes better than a beer after a hike, except for when it
oh my god
spills in your hammock.
Yeah, true. Have you ever had, I mean, okay, first of all, yes. I would say the food tier for like hiking goes like 1, post hike beer. There's nothing like it. 2, mid-hike sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Why did I think it's like I think I like a little bit of sog in my sandwich, and so I really like it when my sandwich has had like enough time to sog, and I feel like I've like
it's marinated a bit.
It's marinated in there in the foil, and then you like take off the foil in sections. And
I like we always did my mom would make beef jerky, and we would have crackers and like easy cheese, the spray cheese.
Oh my god. Yeah,
and so
I'm familiar.
That and apples, and that would be our hiking lunches.
Yeah.
But then when we did our UREC trip in Big Bend, we made like bagel sandwiches with turkey and mayo and lettuce, and it was an everything. It was so good.
That sounds
just
so good.
Eating outside
with like is pretty underrated unless you're in an I'm thinking back to the last time that
depending on the situation, maybe.
Yeah, we had hike sandwiches. Well, okay, so we went on a hike, and then we had rented a car. So we went on a hike, and then we stopped at a grocery store and got provisions for sandwiches, so that we were gonna just drive to the next, like, it's the place where the helicopter dropped us off. And we were like, let's remake a memory, but let's not try to hike to it for obvious reason. And
Fun.
so we drove up to it, and there's like this. It's really interesting. It's called Mirador Garby, and there's like this population of stray cats that live on the
Oh,
Mirador, like on the lookout, on the
fun.
viewpoint. Yeah, and I made the mistake of feeding one of them a slice of ham,
Mm.
and then shockingly, all of these cats came out of their camouflage from the rock and were like,
Uh, oh,
"You
excuse me,
rang?"
miss.
Yeah. Excuse me. That's it. That's yeah.
Fun.
What else is good about
If you give
hiking?
a cat
Food
a
food
ham,
hikes.
that's what they say.
Oh, also nuts. Like trail mix is just good.
Mm.
Like I
I'm not a
understand
big
why trail
nut
mix is the
person.
thing.
I don't
Oh, I
love
don't know.
nuts.
I like nuts. I don't like hazelnuts.
I like raisins.
I
The
love
parts I eat
raisins.
out of trail mix are Cheez-Its, raisins, and M&Ms.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Mm,
I leave
if
all the
there's pretzels
nuts.
in it as well, I would
I
eat
will
the
eat a
pretzels.
pretzel first, but my mom never really put pretzels in things.
Cheez-Its is a wild card in
My
trail
mom makes
mix.
really good Chex Mix, though.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Should get
God, I
that
mix
recipe from
Chex
her.
Mix. I miss
That'd be good
Chex
camping.
Mix.
I
Sometimes
feel
I.
like I had something to tell you.
Go on.
Oh, my show and tell. I only have one item with me.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I was told I was gonna get a show and tell.
yeah. One of them I took camping, and so it's in the dishwasher, and I can't
Okay.
show it, but I can tell it. Uh,
Okay. Tell
Macy,
and tell.
Sarah, and I exchanged boo baskets
Well, that's nice.
for Halloween,
Yeah.
and Macy got me this mug that had all the different like fossils in the eras they came from, and it was like a
Oh, that's
timeline that
cool.
looked kind of like a soil profile, but it was fossils and rocks,
Fossils. Oh, that's cool.
and it was really cool. But I took it camping, and so it's dirty, so that's not up here. But the other
That.
thing is, Sarah got us these pumpkin stress balls,
Oh.
and Macy made a astute observation that it looks quite like a titty.
Yes. Indeed.
So I've been running around the house every time I lose it, which is often because I
Yes.
lose things sometimes. I just run around the house saying, "Where's my titty?"
Where's, where's my titty? Oh God, I heard myself.
So that's been the latest bit.
I'm scooting the microphone back. I heard myself and I just yelled that. That's embarrassing.
Okay.
I get on here and then I feel like
It
the
doesn't
rules
seem that
of.
loud to me.
Okay, good.
Do you
Because
think it
I feel.
records louder than we hear each other? Or do you think that's just me being weird and not understanding how technology works?
I gotta be honest with you, I have no idea.
I don't know either.
Whatever. Well, that's really nice. I enjoy that you
Anyway,
guys
that's
got
my
boo
pumpkin.
baskets. I didn't. My boyfriend was out of town climbing mountains.
How dare he? How rude.
And so I went to a Halloween party with my friend from Seville, actually, who lives here with her boyfriend, and they had tiny little bags of Haribos. I've never seen Haribo like
You haven't seen the mini
bags.
bags?
They're like this big. I'd never seen
Uh-huh.
it before, and I brought like I thought that I got. Oh, this is something to talk about. I got into a little bit of a panic on the day of Halloween and
Uh-oh.
thought that maybe we were going to have trick or treaters this year.
Mm-hmm.
We've never had trick or treaters before, so I don't know
But what
why I
if?
got it into my head. So what if? And I was already going to the fancy grocery store because it was Ocean's birthday last Saturday, and
Mm-hmm.
he was
Oh,
gone,
happy birthday,
like I
Ocean.
mentioned.
Sorry.
Yes, happy 28th to the old man. But what we do for his birthday is I make him the dinner of his choosing and the dessert of his choosing. And so I always try to make it like because he doesn't really ask for anything big. And so I got him like a coffee making setup, and like I was making him trying to make him the fanciest lasagna humanly possible. And so I went to the fancy grocery store. I was already going to the fancy grocery store to get like nice beef and nice like Italian tomato products, all of this. And so I got a bag of fun-sized Twix, mini Twix, and then I got a bag of like the sort of these size Haribo snacks. So there was like a variety. So there was like strawberries and Coke bottles and gummy bears and, you know, what have you. I spent 90 euros. But I just, and this is how I justified it, is that I have this like deep desire to be the house with the best candy. Did anyone come trick-or-treating?
Mac does too. She wants to be the king-size candy bar house.
I want kids to be like, oh my God, I got Twix and Haribo at her house, you know?
It was cool last year. Ada and I were in the garage. Sometimes we would hear kids come up. We decided to gentle parent with our candy. And we were like, take as much as you think is right. I don't remember what I said. It was stupid. On the little note with the
decided to gentle parent with our candy.
But we these kids came up and they were talking about like, oh, it's I don't remember what we had. It was something cool. Oh, we had like Nerds gummy clusters.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are good. More like, find the little bags of those. Yeah. It was great. We had a good selection, and it was great.
It's gratifying, isn't it?
Kids talk about how good our candy was. This year, we had some kids come up, and I didn't put a sign out because I didn't really care, but we were inside hanging out. We had some people over, and these kids came up, and now we have a doorbell camera thing, and we could hear them out there getting candy, and it seemed like they were like kind of hanging out for a while. So Aiden checks the camera after it, and he's like, oh yeah, these kids raided us. So they came up, one kid runs up, and he just like is lounging on our like porch step.
Okay.
Like he's laid down, he's set up camp, he's gonna pick for what he wants.
I love that.
And then all these other kids come up. It was great. And then all these other kids come up and they're like looking at our pumpkin, and we didn't really look at what they did. Aiden looked after they left to be like, oh yeah, we need to go refill the candy. I watched it the next day, and this little kid was humping my pumpkin and trying to get his friend to take a picture of it while the others were like taking all our candy out, which is fine. Like, take as much candy as you want. We had a big bag. We wanted to refill it. And so one of the kids, I guess, hears us laughing inside or something. He goes, oh, I hear something. And they all run away. I didn't see that the kid was humping the pumpkin until the next day.
So they just like thought that you would like.
They were just hanging out. They
were like, abandoned house with a. They were like, oh yeah, they've left, and they've left the bowl of candy.
And like, we weren't being quiet inside. We were playing drinking games, and
presumably there was also lights on.
Know that I get loud when I drink, so surely we weren't being quiet. But they were just hanging out there. And then Aiden goes out to refill the candy, and he comes back in. And he's like, hell yeah, they left us glow sticks.
In their rush to get away,
all worth it because we got glow sticks out of it. So
incredible.
Halloween made.
That's
but yeah,
good.
My pumpkin was painted on. It didn't even have hole in it. It was a whole pumpkin.
It didn't even have hole. There wasn't even hole. Why hump with no hole?
It didn't even. Why hump with no hole? And these are the types of hard-hitting questions we answer here when we're past Meets Planet.
We ask the best questions here on Where Fast Meets Planet, like who mummy, how mummy, and
why mummy,
why hump with no hole,
why hump with no hole,
why hump with
Clip
no
that.
hole,
make it a reel.
Do
you want to learn?
Yeah, let's learn. Let's do it. Teach me something, sir. Please.
Okay. Well, today.
Suddenly you got so much more solemn, and I don't. Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm also having like a weird, I think my nose is runny and so my eyes are also runny.
Oh yeah.
And so I
There's
just
something causing allergies in my bedroom, so which is
I'm
where I
trying to
am.
get my notes set up so that my notes can be full screen, but then Riverside will make me little screen.
I forget you only do this with screen.
I'm just gonna you know what? That's good enough. Cool. Okay, so this is gonna be a 3-parter.
Oh, I'm doing a series too. Uh-oh. Except for it's 6 parts. So.
Holy shit. Okay. Am I learning the history of everything?
No.
Somewhere?
We'll
Okay, I'm
into
excited
it.
to hear about that later. Yeah. Well, mine's 3 parts. We're gonna talk about freshwater supplies, specifically how freshwater supplies are shrinking, but water demand is growing, and how can we meet that need. All of my notes, except for a couple statistics, because this is an older textbook, come from my textbook for my environmental science class in college.
Incredible.
That I think I've talked about before.
Indeed, you have.
The science issues and solutions.
Hold on. Before we start, I just got added to a birthday group chat, which means I need to put my computer on do not disturb. How do I do that? Oh, okay. Continue.
Okay. So this textbook's from, I think 2015, 2016,
Cute.
2017. One of those. Copyright.
I have a question right off the bat, just so you know.
What's up?
So, feel free to correct me, but I've always been told like the water supply that we use is constantly like recycling. And so I could be showering in the same water, well, not in Spain, but like I could be showering in the same water that Abraham Lincoln bathed in. Is that correct or no?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that's covered right off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If we're not losing water to space, then yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna read the central question from this chapter in the textbook because it kind of explains it better than I could. So the central question is, how can we meet human needs for fresh water while avoiding or reducing environmental impact? So the way this textbook handles things is it has a section on science, a section on issues, and a section on solutions. So today we're just going to do the section on science, and it's kind of just a background of freshwater resources. Okay. So a bit before I get into that, kind of why I want to talk about this. 1 in 4 people don't have access to clean drinking water. According to the World Health Organization, that's about 2.4 billion people. And we have less available water and a population that's growing at an insane rate right now, which is tough. In California, farmers used to be able to drill just like a few 100 feet into the ground to get enough water to supply themselves for years. But in the last decade, I guess 2 decades, because this textbook is a decade old, in the last 2 decades, they've been having to spend a ton of money on really expensive machines to bore 1,000+ feet just to get to water.
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't account for, because isn't it the Colorado River that like provides a lot of like that feeds a lot of irrigation canals, or is that wrong?
Yes, this is talking, I think so, but this is talking about groundwater, like specifically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like drilling down into the ground, to the aquifer. So understood. When they draw out water from these sediments, it compacts them, causing the ground to sink down. And once they're compacted like that, they can never have or store the same amount of water. So their storage capacity is just permanently reduced. Okay. Once it's drawn out. Diverting and storing fresh water like this kind of for human use has been a thing for thousands of years. but human needs and wants are growing at a faster rate than the water supplies we have access to. And then now we'll get into the numbers. So the earth is full of water, right? It's like 70% water.
Big brain. Big brain.
It's literally called the blue planet. Unfortunately, most of that is too salty for us to use, or it's not accessible.
Yeah.
But there is so much of it. So they talk about Earth's water in cubic kilometers. So 1 cubic kilometer is 1 trillion liters. And to put that into spatial perspective, 1 cubic kilometer, if it was spread out in like a band of water, it could be 1 meter deep and 25 meters wide and completely encircle the Earth at the equator.
Whoa.
That's just one cubic kilometer.
Okay.
So the total amount of liquid fresh water on Earth's surface and in the ground is more than 10 million cubic kilometers. And if you include all of the water in the atmosphere, oceans, and ice caps, it's about 1.4 billion cubic kilometers.
Holy crap.
So we have a lot of water, and all of it flows through the hydrologic cycle, which is kind of what makes it possible for you to shower in Abraham Lincoln's water. So we'll start with the different pools where water lives, and these are called reservoirs. So we have, in order from largest to smallest, the ocean, polar ice caps and glaciers, groundwater and freshwater lakes and rivers, and the atmosphere. So of all the water on Earth, only 2.5% of that is freshwater, and most of that is inaccessible. Overall, we kind of only have access to 0.3% of all water on Earth. Which is not a lot.
Problem. So, sorry.
But also even less than that.
I didn't process the fact. I didn't process. So how many billions did you say? Like 1.7 billion kilometers.
So 1.4 billion cubic kilometers
is the total amount of water,
is the total amount of water that flows through a hydrologic cycle on Earth.
So
yeah, the total amount of water,
including the oceans,
I think you could say. Yes.
Okay.
So 0.3% of that, I looked it up earlier, but I didn't write it down.
Is what
0.3% is what we kind of have access to.
Okay, but
it's not. Sort of even less than that. Yeah. And I'll kind of get into that when I go through the cycle. So the largest freshwater reservoir, which is 2/3 of all freshwater, is frozen in glaciers and the polar ice caps. What's left of that, the remaining third, is in groundwater. So, the pores between soil and rocks. And groundwater is the source for water wells and springs. I don't know why I wrote that. I didn't elaborate on whatever. Okay. Lakes, wetlands, and rivers collectively contain 0.3% of the Earth's freshwater. So that's kind of where the idea of we only have access to 0.3% of all water on Earth comes from.
Okay.
But less than that is what's available for human use. And I'm about to get into that. So we'll talk about all these things in the cycle now. So the hydrologic cycle is powered by the sun, which causes water to evaporate. So starting with the ocean, evaporation from the surface of the ocean moves, I'm going to get back into big numbers now, 425,000 cubic kilometers of water into the atmosphere each year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it moves a ton of water into the atmosphere. About 90% of that goes back into the ocean as precipitation.
Okay.
So it evaporates, condenses, and forms clouds. 90% falls back into the ocean. About 10% of it, which is about 40,000 cubic kilometers, falls as precipitation over land. So once it gets to land, it's joined up with water vapor that comes from like soils, lakes, plants giving off moisture, earth, basically. So that combines. And then your total annual precipitation on land is about 110,000 cubic kilometers of water.
Wow. Okay.
And this is going to fall into lakes and rivers. It's going to fall into the ground and go into the ground, or if the ground is saturated, it'll run off into lakes and rivers and eventually flow into the ocean. So what's interesting is the amount of oceanic evaporation that goes over land is kind of equally returned
to the ocean.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
Surface and subsurface runoff totals about 40,000 cubic kilometers of water that's going back into the ocean from the land, and about the same amount is what falls as precipitation over the land.
Okay.
And so that usable bit that's falling over, I had Aiden help me with this because it took me way too long to understand. We're whipping the textbook back out. Unless I wrote it down. Yeah, I said that already. Okay, yeah, so I did write it down in a way that I understood. Okay.
Good. Grand.
So basically, what I said balances it out. Mm-hmm. That surface and subsurface runoff is primarily what's available for human use.
Okay.
So before it runs back in, so it's basically like the excess.
We have to catch it before
what's we have on land. Yeah, you catch it. That's kind of
before
what we
it
have
goes
available
back into
to
the
use.
ocean.
Yeah. Gotcha. And so that accounts for 0.0003% of the total amount of water circulated yearly in the hydrologic cycle.
Great. Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
That is a very small
does
amount.
the hydrologic cycle kind of make sense? It's basically
water it makes sense. Yeah.
Evaporates, goes over land, and then it kind of balances it out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so what we have
like a
more
detailed version of the water cycle from science class.
Yeah. So on top of the hydrologic cycle, we also have wet years and dry years. Mm-hmm. Bring in the boy and the girl. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? What? El Nino and La Nina.
Ah, yes, of course. Yes.
I know Spanish.
Yes. I know Spanish. I know Spanish.
Not the So, the El Nino Southern Oscillation, its government name.
It's government name. It's Christian name. Yeah.
Actually, though, hang on. Hold on to that. El Ninos happen every 3 to 5 years. What happens? It happens around. Pause. Okay, I'm back.
It's okay.
So basically, every 3 to 5 years, kind of around the equator off the coast of South America, so the eastern Pacific Ocean, warms up a few degrees and causes a ton of drama.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar.
So, history time on El Nino. The fishermen of Peru knew about this process for centuries because it brought crazy rain and flooding and also bad fishing at sea.
Yeah.
And it got its name because it usually occurred during Christmas time. So the local fishermen in Peru named it El Nino, which was Jesus' Spanish name as a child. Jesus' name in Spanish as a child.
I've just heard Jesus. I don't know.
Right? I don't.
Never heard El Nino, but it makes sense. Like Madonna and child.
I guess because like when Jesus was born around Christmas time, El Nino, he's like the child, you know?
Yeah,
of
he's
all the children,
child.
He's the one you're thinking about around that time of year.
Do you know how to say the Lord in Spanish?
No. I don't teach you that in Duolingo.
El Señor.
Wow.
It's so funny because they'll just be things like, El Señor cuida. I'm like, the man, the sir cares. I don't know. I just think that's funny. Anyways.
Okay. That's all the history I'll get into.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's where it got its name. So during typical conditions in this area of the ocean, or this time of year, trade winds push warm surface water west. And so as that happens, cold water from the bottom of the ocean, where the warm water just got pushed away from, comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a process called upwelling. So in El Nino years, and that's the normal process, warm water goes away, cold water comes up. And in El Nino year, those trade winds weaken, and that causes the warm surface water to flow into the opposite direction. And so when it reaches South America, the warm water goes north, and it pushes that cold water that would be coming up back downward. It's like, no, you stay down here. So the area that should have upwelling gets pushed down instead. And that kind of influences the hydrologic cycle of the whole globe. So the warmer temperatures come with a lower atmospheric pressure. And so you'll get more storms in the eastern Pacific, which is where that warm water is going up, causing low pressure is happening. Yeah. So the southern U.S. and northern Mexico are going to have a really cold and wet winter. But Southeast Asia and Australia are going to be pretty dry. And El Niños typically last like a year or two before it swings back to normal, or to the opposite extreme, which is a La Nina. La Nina is where you have lower surface temperatures and higher atmospheric pressure. And these develop about as frequently every 3 to 5 years as El Niños. But in a La Nina, the trade winds are stronger than usual, and they kind of push the warm water even further west across the Pacific. And so at the same time, because of increased upwelling happening over here and lower sea surface temperatures are even I didn't understand my wording there. I did my notes on very bad coloring this time.
No.
So the trade winds are stronger. They're pushing the water even further west across the Pacific. At the same time, because there's even more upwelling happening, you're getting even colder sea surface temperatures. The atmospheric pressure is even higher.
Okay.
Colder temperatures, higher atmospheric pressure. Warmer temperatures, lower atmospheric pressure.
Right.
So all of the low pressure warm stuff's happening now in Southeast Asia and Australia, whereas over in northern Mexico and United States, you're getting a pretty dry winter. So it's the opposite effect. If that overall is the moral of the story there. And it took scientists like most of the 20th century to figure out the global impact of El Nino and La Nina.
Yeah.
And they used things like tree ring data, which correlates with precipitation amounts, to estimate how long El Nino and La Ninas have been happening. And they found out that they've been happening periodically for tens of thousands of years.
Wow. That's cool.
A long time.
I reckon.
Yeah,
I reckon that's what is. I don't know. Actually, I shouldn't say I reckon. I don't know. But do you think like that's why, the last year, like 2021, we had like 2 feet of snow?
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, because we all were saying, yeah, it's an El Nino year.
Oh, really?
That makes sense. I think so, yeah.
But I was not, but maybe you were. I just was not paying
If
attention.
it was an El Nino year, then my answer is a yes. Final.
Okay, cool.
Final answer. So that's just a little bit of background information on the hydrologic cycle. So now we have a basis for which to understand the problems and how we can fix it. So yeah, week 1 of freshwater supplies done.
Nice. Cool. Well, that was exciting, and I felt like I understood everything, which is not what I usually do. I think like after actually like learning about what happened with the floods last year in Valencia, like which is kind of similar. But they call it something different. They have different names for all of the winds here. I don't know. Anyways, it's interesting.
Yeah, wind is a whole other beast.
Yeah. Cool. Well, are you ready?
Water.
Water.
I'm ready. What am I gonna be learning about for the next
6 weeks.
episodes?
Yeah. So maybe this is a beast that I've taken on that I don't know. Okay, anyways, I'm going to be talking about the 6 Tudor queens, which is how I will be referring to them rather than Henry VIII's 6 wives, because they deserve a little bit of autonomy, I think. Basically, I listened to a podcast from the, what is it called? The Historic Royal Palaces in the UK, I think. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I listened to 3 podcasts on Katherine of Aragon. And I will be listening to several other about the rest of the wives. I just really am interested in these women's lives. Like, they're all so different and so interesting. And the only thing that they have in common is that they were married to Henry VIII, unfortunately. So
trauma bonding.
Well,
or maybe
well,
not. Okay.
Not really.
All right.
That's not how. Okay, that's just like. To be fair, I think it's good to go into this with a bit of context, because otherwise, I do believe. Okay, so when I was listening to the podcast from the Historic Royal Palaces, they said it's very important to go into this with context, because otherwise you might see Catherine, who we're going to be talking about today, differently than you would if you understood the context of what being a Tudor woman was like.
Okay.
Being a Tudor woman essentially meant that women couldn't own property. So as soon as you got married, all of your worldly possessions were technically legally your husband's. It went from your dad to your husband. So women had no
nothing
legal authority in Tudor England. And it did, but it did vary based on how rich you were, kind of. So it didn't necessarily need to depend on how rich you were. It was kind of like you were just at the mercy of the men in your life, which is great if you have men in your life like the men that we have in our lives, which are really great men. But it's not so great if you're at the mercy of men who treat women poorly. So that, I think, is kind of important to come into this with, is like, these are not modern women. They don't have the same worldview and outlook as we do, because they were born into this society where that was just normal. Like, they were not legally empowered like we are today. Okay, caveat done. Let's talk about Katherine of Aragon. I will say she is my favorite of Henry VIII's wives. So I'm quite excited about this. And I only developed this like of her as I researched for this episode, because she's just like really cool. Like, as a modern woman, it's hard not to like portray my modern sensibilities onto her, because she's just like, she just seems so like sure of herself and so like intelligent and cool. But her life is kind of sad. So sorry, spoiler alert. Because as you might know from being in the theater, the old poem goes, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. That's how you remember Henry VIII's wives. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of history in this one episode, just so you know. So
I feel like I need to like snuggle in, like I'm about to read a story by the fire.
Listen, this is just, not only is it like historically incredibly significant, the story of Katherine of Aragon is incredibly significant historically, but oh my god, it's completely chock full of gossip. Like,
love it.
The gossipiest story that there's drama, there's like other women. It's so good.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so Catherine, who doesn't spell her name like yours, but I am taking my cues from the historic royal palaces and also Catherine's letters herself, where she spelled her name with a K, but not with a Y. She spelled it Katherine, Katherine. But she was not born Catherine. That was the anglicized version of her name. She was born Catalina de Aragon. So she was the daughter of Queen Isabella of Castile and King Ferdinand of Aragon. And they are most famous for being like the first, like the unifiers of Spain. So the first unification of a modern Spain, an early modern Spain, came from King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, who were both, it's important to note that they were both monarchs in their own rights. But Catalina was the fifth surviving child of Ferdinand and Isabella, and she was born on December 16th, 1485, in Alcalá de Henares, which is a town outside of Madrid. She's the youngest daughter in the family, and she was also brought up under the tutelage of her mom, who paid a lot of attention to Catherine and her siblings, especially her sisters, education, because Isabella was not given that great of an education, and she wanted to make sure that her daughters were given a good education.
Slay.
That being said, she did only teach. That being said, she did only teach them. No, she was a good mom, and like she made sure that like Catherine was incredibly intelligent and like very, very good at hosting, good at being like royal, but she was also really intelligent. But she only knew, like, she was fluent in Latin and Spanish, and that was it. Like, so it's, I don't know, maybe she didn't need more than that, but I don't know. So she also, interestingly enough, like I feel like whenever we picture Spanish princesses, so she was called the Infanta, which is the Spanish word for princess. And she was not very Spanish looking. She had a lot of English ancestry, actually. So I believe both her maternal and paternal great grandparents were English. So she was very fair skinned and she had red hair. And she was described as being short and plump. she sounds really cute. Like for all intents and purposes, like everyone thought that she was really cute. So but they were also apparently kind of surprised whenever she started talking, because she had a really like low voice. So she's like this really little girl who like and Dana are like a very like low voice. So moving on from her appearance, I don't want to focus on that too much, but I just think it's interesting. She's not like what you would picture when you think of a Spanish princess. Her parents had reunified Spain, and they were really like trying to legitimize their unification of Spain by marrying off all of their kids to foreign royals. So their first and third daughters were married to Portuguese kings. Their second daughter and then their only son married Austrian Habsburgs. So they're all marrying into royal families, like across Europe.
Okay.
In order to create
cross-pollinating,
cross-pollinating, if you will. Yeah. Just basically like that helped ensure that they would have good alliances and, you know, they would have their fingers in a lot of pies, essentially. Along that vein.
Is that a real saying?
Yeah, it is. I promise it is. I feel like historical people use that a lot. I don't know why.
You just stick your... Who puts their finger in a pie? Anywho.
Monarchs. I don't know.
Monarchs. We've answered that question.
So, in that vein, Catherine was actually pledged to be married to Arthur, Prince of Wales, and he was also heir to the English throne, which is a big deal because both England and Spain wanted each other as allies because they both didn't like the French. That's just pretty much same thread through history. Like, I don't know. They just don't like the French. That's just a line to follow.
Cool. Gotcha. Locked in.
So,
it's in the dome.
In order to solidify this alliance between England and Spain, the King of Spain, Ferdinand, was to pay a dowry of 200,000 crowns plus plate and jewels valued at 35,000 crowns to King Henry VII, who is the King of England. Arthur and Catherine actually exchanged a lot of letters before they were to be married, because they were married. They were betrothed via a treaty. So a few years before they were married. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, as everyone is. So a few years before they were married, they were able to kind of get to know each other via letters, but the only shared language they had was Latin, classical Latin. So they wrote letters in Latin. Yeah, which is insane.
In my 6th grade Latin class, if I had
written letters to your boyfriend,
pen pal.
Yeah, imagine trying to get to know someone's personality in Latin. Anyways,
in Latin,
but apparently it worked. They liked each other. Cool. They were legally married in 14. Yeah, I know. So they were legally married in 1499 when she was 15 and he was, I think, maybe 16. They were around the same age. They were both teenagers.
So young, but not icky.
Young, but not I mean, for the time, it was kind of whatever. Yeah. He's not it was kind of par for the course. No, and he wasn't old. He was around the same age as her. But then they were technically, I guess, legally married while Catherine was still in Spain. So their official wedding was November 14th, 1501, which was 2 days after Catherine arrived in London to actual hordes of people welcoming her to the country. They were so excited about her, and that continues throughout her life. People love her. Her subjects absolutely loved her.
Yay.
Yeah. So this is kind of interesting and unique. They had a very lavish wedding at St. Paul's Cathedral in London, which is interesting because Henry VII was known to be a bit of a cheapskate. And so they were kind of surprised that he paid for a really fancy wedding. And then here's where we start getting into the gossip. So the next day, right, all of the ladies in waiting, all of the men leave the bedchamber at night, leave the marriage chamber. These are 2 15-year-olds. No one's ever told them anything about the birds and the bees, nothing. So they have to figure it out on their own. We'll see whether or not that actually happened. This comes up again. Okay. But the next day, apparently, it was reported that Arthur came out of the bedroom and he was like, "Oh, I'm so thirsty." Okay. Because this is a quote, he had spent the night in the midst of Spain. All right. Okay.
Get out of here.
He's 16. He's yeah. I'm so thirsty.
He's literally going into the football locker room.
I was in Spain last night.
Man. I didn't get much sleep last night. Did you guys? Didn't, because I was knees. What?
I was in Spain. I was ankles deep in Spain, boy. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I said, "Okay, bud," on the end of it.
Okay, bud.
All right.
Good for you.
Yeah. Arthur just seemed kind of like a cutie patootie, but then, people got sick a lot in those times, and so they both were on a trip. I think they were away from home, and they got sick with what was called the sweating sickness. It was probably tuberculosis or some other form of plague, and this was in April 1502. So they had only been married for 5 months when when they both got sick. Excuse me. So Catherine survived, but Arthur passed away. in April of 1502, and she was actually too sick to go to his funeral, which is kind of sad.
That's so sad.
And then on top of that, she literally had no time to start, like, to grieve at all, like, have any sort of mourning, because she became a political pawn immediately between England and Spain. Because basically, she was kind of like, well, they kind of went back and forth. Like, the King of England was like, well, I need the dowry, so I want to keep her, but is she going to marry me? Is she going to marry my other son, Henry, who is only 10? Because she couldn't marry Henry yet. Yeah. Is she going to marry me? Because King Henry VII was also a widower. And also there was this whole sort of debate as to whether she could even marry anyone in the rest of the family, because basically there was this problem in the church where it was kind of a sin to marry your brother's widow, because like marrying within the family is like
goes against bro code.
Right, that. But also it's like it's what is it called? Affinity. I think it's called the sin of affinity. And like
I think it's just called bro code, Maddie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically what it sounds like to me. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense because there's lots of biblical like evidence both ways. So it's kind of there's no like rhyme or reason to it. But she confessed. She was really smart because immediately she confessed to the Bishop of Salisbury, who was named Cardinal Lorenzo Campeggio, that she and Arthur had never slept together, and so the marriage was not consummated. So that, as soon as she she said that they only shared the same bed 7 times in their whole marriage. They never slept together, and she kind of saved herself by immediately doing like sticking to that story hard on.
Okay.
But she was so she was like kind of kept around as a backup, because Henry VII wanted this dowry, but she was like, they were mostly trying to figure out whether or not she was actually a virgin. This was shut down in 1506. So 4 years later, this was shut down when Pope Julius II granted a special dispensation where it didn't even matter if she had consummated the marriage with Arthur, because that he gave them a dispensation. It's fine. Like,
okay,
she can marry him. She can marry Henry VIII.
He gave him a mulligan.
Yeah, he gave him a mulligan. He literally did.
Okay.
Exactly. So the Pope grants this dispensation in 1506, but then there's this whole problem with the fact that Ferdinand was stingy as hell, and he basically can't afford to pay back 100,000 crowns of the dowry. And so imagine, while they're arguing whether or not you're a virgin, you are being kept in England, in a country that you don't actually know. You're being moved around to increasingly bare houses, and she was also increasingly impoverished. So, like, she's having to sell off all of her personal possessions in order to keep everyone in her household. So, like, the very few servants and stuff that she had left, she's having to keep them fed and clothed by selling off her own possessions. And she was being basically sidelined while Henry VII weighed his options, essentially, is what was happening.
Poor girl.
So she's like, it's like rough. But throughout all of this,
she's literally just a teenager. Can you imagine?
She is legitimately just a teenager.
I'm 27, and if I was put in this situation, I think I would know what to do is sit on the floor and cry.
Same. She didn't, though. I mean, to her credit, she was fully involved in this process. She got her father, Ferdinand, to name her as the ambassador to England, Spain's ambassador to England, in 1507, I think, so that she could negotiate for herself on behalf of Spain, which is insane.
Hell yeah.
None of it worked, though. She was legitimately still like fully fully sidelined. She was living at this place called Durham House, and she was like being, you know, kept out of the loop in all of this, and also like kind of starving and did not have enough clothes.
Mm-hmm.
This all ends, though, interestingly enough. Henry VII dies in April of 1509. So she's been doing this for 7 years. And
Wow.
immediately Henry VIII takes the throne. He's 17 years old. It took him 2 months to decide that he was going to marry Catherine. And we don't know whether or not that's because he like really liked her, or he thought that he wanted to keep up appearances with Spain and England's like alliance. Like, we don't actually know why he decided to marry her, but he did.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She's 24 at this time, so she's 7 years older than him, which is
That's crazy.
fun.
Yeah.
Anyways, we don't know why he did it, but yeah, he married her. So the couple was married on June 11th, 1509. The first few years of their marriage were like really good, and they were apparently like really deeply in love. Like, he would do this thing where and one like one thread that we're going to follow throughout all of Henry's marriages is that he thinks that he's the most romantic person alive. And so yeah, in a weird way. Like, he's obsessed with like Arthurian romance and like legend, and so he often like does this thing where he breaks into her chambers dressed as Robin Hood with his men, and like all of the ladies in waiting are like, and then Catherine's just there like, come at me, Robin Hood. It's like some weird foreplay thing, I don't know. And
kinky.
It's made almost worse by the fact that he is like what you think of when you think of like a grand king. Like, when he was young, like by all accounts, hot. Like, was apparently like really like big and sturdy, and like, you know, just like what you would think of as like this like dashing king. I don't know if the portraits do him justice really, but but it's the same kind of with Catherine. I feel like, I don't know. I just always wonder if there was just different standards. You know? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, because if you look up Henry VIII, though, like, you're gonna see the famous portrait, which is
I'm getting like Louis C.K.
Yeah, that's like late Henry VIII. When he had like gout and was like so fat that he had to have like a little stool to help him get up on his horse.
Oh,
anyways,
okay, I see him a little younger.
Yeah, it's like a little bit better, right?
It's like, sure.
If that was your only option,
if that
whatever.
was sure, I think I'd, yeah.
So not only were Catherine and Henry like quite in love, he also respected her and like left her in charge of the country. She acted as regent whenever Henry went off to fight the French. Shocker. She even oversaw an invasion of James IV of Scotland. So Scotland took advantage of Henry trying to leave. Henry leaving to go fight the French, and in 1513, James IV and his forces invaded at the Battle of Flodden, and Catherine rode north and actually was there. And she also sent Henry James IV's bloody cloak after he had been slain, which is badass, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Like I said, she was also really loved by her subjects, which is pretty unique. They just saw her as really pious, intelligent. She's very devoted to her religion, and she was very devoted to like being charitable. So she was really generous, and she worked with like the common people a lot, because that was a big part of her religion and her life. The downside as the years went on is that they struggled really hard to have kids. So they did have a son named Prince Henry in 1511, but he died when he was 52 days old. And then they had their only surviving child, Mary, in 1516. But Henry VIII was absolutely obsessed at this point with having a male heir. And like, that's another thread that just, there's a reason why he had 6 wives. And it was mostly because he like wanted a male heir, which is, you know, is what it is. Again, I think that this is like, I don't think that women would have felt oppressed by the fact that they wanted a male heir at that point in time. They would probably have felt the same pressure.
Just like,
that was just the way that it was. So yeah, kind of sucks. She was said to have numerous miscarriages and stillbirths. And her last pregnancy in 1518 was a stillborn daughter. And then after that, we don't think she had any more pregnancies. So that leads us into her like later years as the queen. The no male heir thing was really not great. Put a really big strain on their marriage and relationship. And also Henry was a fuck boy, which did not help. He had several affairs. And even one produced a son where he like also gave that son a title eventually, like in front of Catherine. Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh,
he was not good. And this was only confirmed by the fact when Henry met Anne Boleyn in 1525, and he was obsessed with her. She was actually one of Catherine's ladies in waiting. So, yeah.
Yikes.
And he had also had an affair with her sister, Mary. So,
because of course the don't sleep with your brother's wife thing only applies to
obviously.
one side.
Well, obviously, yeah.
The bro code doesn't apply to the sis.
Bro code does not apply to sisters, as many modern men would probably tell you as well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. But Anne was not just another mistress. She was fully in it for the title. She refused to have an affair with Henry unless he married her. But she did accept his advances and kind of was holding out for marriage, but she was a part of the household, so he always kept her very close, regardless of whether or not they were having a physical affair. I think it would probably be considered an emotional affair in modern day, but there's on one of the podcasts I listened to, there was this story where they finally got away and they went to a vacation house, and I mean, Anne was a part of the household, so I guess she went with them. And Catherine kind of thought it was a good break in the countryside and not so much pressure and all this. And so she's going to get a snack one night in the kitchens, and she runs into this woman, and she first sees this giant emerald ring on this woman's finger, and then she looks up and it's Anne Boleyn, and it's very obvious where Anne Boleyn has gotten that ring from, and Anne is quite smug. So that, I think, just kind of this one of the straws that broke the camel's back. Catherine is no longer clouded in her judgment of her husband. So, like I said, Henry wanted to marry Anne, but that would be hard because divorce was really difficult. In the early modern period, you needed an annulment from the church in order to get divorced. So he tried to do this by claiming incest. It was okay. So there's an official title for this. It's called The King's Great Matter, and he petitioned.
Sounds like a children's book.
I know. Yeah, except for it's Henry VIII petitioning the church for an annulment for incest. So I said it's kind of like a self-burn, because it's okay, but you were the one who decided to marry her. Basically, he's alleging that because he had sex with his brother's widow, that means that he committed incest, because he's also alleging that his brother and Catherine fully slept together and whatever.
I gotcha.
Even though Catherine has maintained that the marriage was never consummated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he tried to get the Pope to annul the marriage. That didn't work because the Holy Roman Emperor, Charles V, is Catherine's nephew. Charles V had recently invaded Rome. He literally took the Pope hostage. So Charles V has kidnapped the Pope.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hang on, the Pope can't come to the phone right now. He's been kidnapped.
Why? Because he's been tied up. Okay.
Sorry, you're gonna have to postpone the divorce, babe.
No, but literally, okay, so Catherine's nephew is the guy who just kidnapped the literal Pope. Do I know why? No. Do I need to know why? No. The only thing that matters in this is that the Pope is obviously going to say, no, I'm not granting you an annulment, because the guy that kidnapped me and has a gun to my head is saying to not give the annulment. So no. Basically, Henry had to take the case to trial. So he couldn't get an annulment right off the bat. And he had to take the case to trial. And Catherine just absolutely gave the performance of a lifetime at this trial. I'm going to quote this because it's worth it. She fell to her knees, and Catherine swore publicly in front of everyone at this tribunal that she had never consummated her marriage to Arthur, and that this 20 years I have been your true wife. So she's on her knees in front of Henry saying this in front of God and everybody, and then gets up and leaves. And so obviously after doing that, it would have been the showstopper piece of evidence in the trial, and Henry would have never been able to get an annulment. So what he decides to do instead is create his own effing church.
Oh, okay.
He said, okay.
Because why not? He said,
because why not? He said, heard. See you later. So after he lost the case, my actual note says Henry went, okay, fuck it, and he started the Church of England, which is not how it happened. He declared himself the supreme head of the church, obviously made divorce legal for himself, and said, look, now I'm not married. That didn't work for Catherine. He basically gave her the option to be sent to a convent and be an abbess. And you didn't necessarily have to live
What does an abbess do?
She's the head honcho she's the mother, and everyone else is sisters.
Okay, I got
of the convent.
Okay.
She said no. She said, no, thank you.
Pass.
I will take my chances. You are still my husband. I am still the Queen of England. Period.
Stand on business,
Nothing.
girl.
She did do that. Didn't really matter, unfortunately. She just didn't take any of... I mean, and it's on the one hand, it's so hard, because on the one hand, you want to be so proud of her for taking all of this into her own hands and saying, no, I am still the Queen of England. I am still your wife. By the laws of the Catholic Church, you've just decided to start a new church, and that doesn't mean shit. But it just didn't end up working out for her in her favor, because she was exiled in 1531, and she was forbidden from ever seeing her daughter, which is really sad to her. She never saw her daughter again.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And also Henry and Anne just went on and did whatever the hell they wanted anyways. So Henry had married Anne Boleyn and crowned her queen in 1532 publicly. And they were in from 1531 to 1536, Catherine was just moved from house to house, randomly. Henry's men would show up at her house one day and be like, you're moving.
That's crazy.
and she was moved from house to house with the accommodations being increasingly dilapidated and bare. They said by the last year of her life, she was cooking her own meals. She like barely had a household. She was in a bad way and was very lonely. She was also increasingly in bad health, which is interesting though, because she still had, so Henry's got her under his thumb, but she still has the support of the majority of people in England. Like they never let go of the fact that she was the queen, and she never let go of the fact that she was the queen. Like they went so far as to like one time whenever Henry's men showed up and she was being moved out of the house, like peasants showed up with like pitchforks and stuff and were like, what are you doing? Leave her alone. Like everyone really loved Catherine. She
Good
also,
for her.
I know, she never stopped trying to see her daughter and make sure that her daughter's place as heir was secure. It wasn't, because Anne Boleyn eventually had Elizabeth I. So Mary was pushed out of the line.
Yeah.
But I think Catherine had this really sad view of her life towards the end, where it was like she was really focused on what could have been and not what was. And she, like, the podcast I was listening to said, like, you know, it's really a shame because on the one hand, you want to be very proud of her for standing up for herself and, you know, having all of these like very solid beliefs about herself. And, you know, that's great. But at the same time, she could have made life a lot easier for herself and for her daughter if she had just if she had just conceded to some of Henry's demands. Like, I get it. It sucks. But like, your daughter could have probably had an easier time. And she also, there's this whole like thing of Catherine was probably in love with Henry for the rest of her life as well, which is really sad. But I think a lot of it is that she was in love with like the early years and her idea of him and like their like reign, like, because it was very romanticized, obviously. But in 1535, she wrote her last letter to Henry, and it said, quote, "For my part, I pardon you everything. I make this vow that mine eyes desire you above all things." And she signed it Catherine the Queen. She died at the age of 50 on January 7th, 1536. She had some form of cancer, they think, probably stomach cancer, because she was really in poor health by the time she died. So that's Catherine.
Damn.
And
that's crazy. That was so much drama.
I know. Her life was just completely...
They need to make like a show that's like a reality show.
Yeah.
Real Housewives themed.
But it's... I think that's what Six is though. Six is the Broadway musical. Yeah, about the Six Wives. I would like to see that.
That would be cool.
There is some really good
that on our 30th birthday trip. We can go do our drinking around the world, then head up to Broadway. We could do an East Coast tour.
Indeed. Yes.
There we go.
But yeah, there is a good series by Stars that's called The Spanish Princess that's about the life of Katherine of Aragon. It's really, really sad. There's no getting around the fact that the end of her life was quite sad. And like I said, you know, she was a Tudor woman. She was fully at the whim of her husband in the end of her life, which sucks. But yeah, that's Katherine of Aragon. And next time we will talk about that hussy and Boleyn.
I'm really excited for this series.
I know. This is going to be so excited. I'm like stupid excited. So I just, women's history, man, it really gets me. I really enjoy
Mm.
it. And not to say that, okay, I know that I said that hussy Evelyn, but she's really made up. She's made
Not to
out to
slut
be
shame and say
something.
I love women's history.
Not to slut shame, but I think that there's some things that we can learn from these stories. I think like
Mm-hmm.
Katherine of Aragon is always seen as the wronged wife, and I think that she had a lot of autonomy actually in her life, which is quite cool.
Yeah,
And
like
a
it
lot
was
of
great
like
until it
power.
was bad, it feels like.
Yeah, she had a lot of power, and she's a lot more than just the wronged wife, as well as I believe that Anne Boleyn is a lot more than the other woman, but we'll get to that next time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, next time we'll
Yay.
have our part twos. That's so cute
Yes.
that we were doing series at the same time and didn't even plan it. Look at us.
I know.
Look at
I wanted to
us.
text you like the whole week and like be like, "Hi, I'm doing 6 parts." Just so you know. But I
Strap
decided to make it
in.
a surprise. Strap in,
I've been
like
fidgeting with
lock
this
in
pumpkin
everyone.
the entire time, and pieces of its face have been flaking off, and so it's just been getting a little more and more decrepit. This is
Oh
where
god.
we're at now.
It looks so scary. Make sure that you don't eat any of that. It looks like lead paint.
I'm not gonna eat any of it.
Okay. Don't get it near your mouth. You're a
Don't do
child.
that.
As soon as I said don't eat it, you've moved it so close to your mouth. Like, I know you don't
What are
like
you
being
gonna do?
told what to
Stop
do.
me? I'm sorry, you're across the pond.
It's always your excuse, isn't it?
All right.
Incredible. All right.
Catch you on the flippity
So
flop.
we'll catch you on the flippity flop. See you next Wednesday after next.
Yep. Bye
Bye.
bye.